Well, I hope everybody survived Hurricane Burl. Uh, she dropped some rain on us, still dropping some rain on us as we're doing this video. So hopefully that by the middle of the week, that thing will have moved on and weather has somewhat cleared up for us. So we shall see. But anyhow, fishing this past week's been pretty good for the most part. You know, we worked up here in Ayers Bay, Ayers Dugout, the Reef, all that area. Second chain of islands, working the reefs, man, because that's primarily where we're catching lots and lots and lots of our trout, all off of these reefs. Ever so often, we'll pull a redfish off of it, or maybe in a black drum, occasional flounder. But trout have been the main things that we have really worked on, and we've kind of targeted, and just kind of stuck with that pattern. So we've worked in those reefs, worked them early, usually by 9, 10 o'clock at the latest. That bite for trout has really died off on us. So if you're going to continue to fish for those, then you have to move to that little bit deeper water, which in some of these areas you've got that available to you. But yeah, reefs have been the main thing. It's been the common denominator for us. That's where we have found everything that we've really wanted and some nice fish. There's been a lot, in that 14.5 to 16 range, but we've caught some solid fish. Have been in the upper slot and even a few over the slot now. In that 21 to 24 inch range has been pretty solid ever so often in there. But the main things is, with that upcoming, or with the hurricane that's been kind of bearing down on us for a while, the fishing really hasn't changed a tremendous amount. Pressures have changed somewhat. Wind has been, it's kind of fluctuated. And then, of course, you've got the pop-up rainstorms have popped up around us as well. So you just kind of have to duck and dodge a little bit. But anyway, down south has been our main ticket that we've thrown, around this new moon. It's been good for us. Been pretty solid fishing with the new moon. Primary colors, man, it's been twisted tea, it's been big papa, white ice, bone diamond have been the four main ones that have been very productive for us. In the original size, we've thrown some of the supermodel. Supermodel's done pretty good. The big smooth has done pretty good. But the majority of our fish that we've caught have been all on the original size down south. Burner shad every so often, we've thrown that in there just to see. Of course, when that bite kind of dies off on you on that mid-morning time frame, we would slide over to that smaller profile just to see if we could still create a bite, and some that went to the other side and went into a bigger bite or a bigger bait to see if we could get that bite. And so there wasn't really any super amount of production with either size of the baits during that time frame, but we still caught some fish. So it wasn't like it was, when that minor rising was happening. So it was pretty productive during that time frame. Like I say, water's temperatures in the upper 80s. It's getting into the low 90s as we travel throughout the morning and get into the afternoon time frame. So always keep that in mind, that hot water. That's why you want to find deeper water later in the day, especially if you're going to target the trout. Redfish, not so much. They're not too worried about it because they'll get in hot water, cold water. They don't care. So, but if you really want to target the trout, that's the things that you're really going to want to focus on. Throwing the double D some, it's been pretty productive, but hadn't thrown it a lot. A little bit of topwater action's been okay. Been the knock and tail, same flavors, greenbacks, rogue, heavy metal, depending on what your water clarity is. And, with the pretty much calm conditions this past week, the water clarities have been very good for us no matter where we fish. There's been a couple of days it was a little bit breezy, windy, whatever, and it kind of murked it up, but it cleaned up real fast the very next day. So, again, hopefully everybody will do well with this storm and get through it. And like I say, once we get through on the backside of that and get back into our regular summertime conditions, get back out on the water and fish. Out here in front of mud, been working all the hard-packed sand and everything that's all up and down this island out here. Working the cut through, working the grass, the deeper grass edges and beds that are out there off the shoreline. Again, you got the hard packed sand that's there. Got some little bit of scattered shell. Not too terribly much that's offshore there. But, with the deeper grass beds that are, roughly 100, 150 yards off the shore that are out there, they've all been very good for holding trout. Primarily, again, that's what our main focus has been on is finding and catching trout. So, again, those are the areas that you want to be over. You want to be over shell, you want to be over hard-packed sand, grass. Those three components are the ones that you really want to have consistency with no matter where you're going to try to fish, whether it be in the Aransas area or over in the upper Laguna or over in Mesquite. Doesn't matter. That's what you want. You want all that kind of components, those three mainly, Of course, you have got to have the bait working in there, which that's not been a problem anywhere that we fish. We've had plenty of bait working in the areas, but we've just worked these edges up and down this whole front side of mud, and fished the tip. Got out here on a little bit deeper grass beds out there, because that's kind of been our pattern. You know, we fished up shallow early. Then as the sun begins to rise and gets higher in the sky, then we start moving out to that deeper water. And that's a good way for you to be able to continue your bite and continue that along. Now, again, you know, we're getting into that 10 o'clock hour. Water temps are starting to rise. Even though you're fishing a little bit deeper water, that bite really starts to die off pretty hard. So you're really scratching at that point. You're trying to do your best you can do to keep fish coming to you and trying to locate. They're still around. They're just not as hungry and just don't want to feed as much at that point in time. So that's just kind of thing that you kind of play with. Like I say, if you want to trout, man, get there early and get on them, and then just kind of stay with them best you can. Work the backside a little bit. You got the gut that's right there on the sandbar that comes down. We fished off of that on both sides. Decent tide days. You know, of course, that tide really dropped out on us now. We've had a couple of days where we had some negative tides, so you had to fish some deeper water depending on where you were at. So that was the other thing we had to take in consideration. So, but again, we just worked all around mud, front side, back side, fishing those same three structures. Shell, grass, hard packed sand have been the consistency things for us, locating our bait, and just go to work. Again, we threw the larger baits a lot. We threw the original size a lot. Again, in the down south, big smooth, white ice has been good for us. Green has been very good for us. The magic grass one, if you will, watermelon red's been pretty good for us in the big smooth, and of course in the down south in the original size. Again, the same colors. We've been twisted tea, big papa, white ice, bone diamond. Those four colors right there in the original size have been pretty good for us. We threw some on 4th of July. Just for nostalgia's purpose, we threw some of the burner shad firecracker, so kind of fit for that particular day. Caught fish on it, so that was our fireworks for that time frame. So it was a lot of fun, and so we just continue to work those again in the knock and tail, same flavors again. Rogue, greenbacks, heavy metal have been the flavor for us. Again, we threw some double D, threw a little bit of topwater bait as well, but that's 16th ounce jig heads because we were fishing primarily thigh deep. Got a little bit of waist deep water every once in a while, but you don't need anything heavier than that right now. There's no reason to, unless you just want to throw something heavier. If you were going to fish out on the mid-bay wells and stuff in Aransas Bay or Corpus Christi Bay, then yeah, you might want to put your 1/4 ounce jig head on there to get that down there a little further, a little quicker. But like I say, we're primarily fishing all the flats and back lakes and those types of areas like that. But again, just working all these areas, working the edges, keeping a little deeper water close at hand as we transverse into the middle of the day. You know, we get into that 10 to 12 o'clock hour, we're fishing deeper water. Something you want to try to do, especially now as hot as the water is getting and has been. So always keep that in mind as you try to fish later into the day. That bite's going to die off and the fish are going to move deeper because they want to stay comfortable. So majors and minors have been the main things. We always focus on those in those time frames to make sure that we give ourselves the best opportunity to find and catch fish during those time frames. Been spending time down here on the Redfish Lodge shoreline, Rattlesnake Point. They're off of Pete's Bend. All this area here, been fishing these guts, fishing these little bitty, what's left of little spoil islands that are all out on this point. Getting out here on the outer edge, all the way out here where the cut through comes in, with the deeper water on the outer edge here. Spent a few days there on this, and that's where we had a lot of our pop-ups and stuff like that would take place. But we spent some time there, had some pretty solid days. You know, you've got back on the Redfish Lodge side, on that there goes back toward Copano Ridge, all that area there on that shore. You've got some really nice grass beds that are positioned in there. So we kind of spent some time on those and just kind of work those, especially later in the day. You got those deeper beds that'll go out there late, and that's what I explained in the last videos. As that sun rises, you want to slide out to that little bit deeper water because those fish are going to pull off. But early mornings, we spend our time out there on the flat, on the point of Rattlesnake, kind of working across the grass that's on it. And of course we got some shell that's mixed in there, and you've got potholes that are all mixed. So it gives you all the things that you want structure wise. You've got the hard packed sand, you've got shell that's mixed in there, you've got grass that's in there, and you've got deep water access that's close at hand. And then so we've just kind of used that to our advantage and just spread out and work the points. Plenty of people have been out in that particular area over the last several days. So, but it's been very good as far as holding fish. We've caught all the fish that we had wanted. Some solid fish, in that 15 to 18 size, some pretty good fish. Pulled even a few redfish off of there from time to time. So it's been good. Again, majors and minors were the main thing that we were working during that, especially when you had a 2-bite day as far as the time frame for us. So we're trying to be done getting off the water by 1:30 at the latest, maybe at 2 o'clock, but you're pushing it, man, because, again, this water temps they're starting out in the mid to upper 80s, 85 to 88 degrees, depending on where you're at, and it's getting into the 90s. So that water temp's pretty warm by the time you get to that 1 or 2 o'clock hour. So try and find and locate your fish early as you can. If you don't want to run in the dark, which I'm not a big fan of. If I don't have to, I will. I won't, but if I have to, I will. So, but anyhow, we would get on these flats out here, work the edge, work the grass, work on the sand, find and locate our fish. Again, down south, all the sizes during this new moon phase have worked well for us, from the big smooth to the supermodel to the original size. The burner shad and all the flavors that I've mentioned earlier have been good for us. Knock and tail, the same flavors as well. They've been pretty productive for us. Throwing a few of the double D when we get in the right amount of water for that, and just kind of work that to see if we can trigger a different kind of bite. Been a little bit production with that. Didn't throw any top water out here on this, although it had been a good situation to do it. Would have given you that opportunity. But we pretty much just stayed with the plastics and the hard plastics with the ascending baits that we stayed out there on working that. Again, worked the shallower part of the reef early, and then just kind of worked our way to the deeper edges of it as we transversed into the late morning, early afternoon. And it would continue our bite. So again, the majors, midday, minors were early. That's going to be moving now. We're going to be on the back side of this new moon. We're fixing to be in those wild card days, as I like to call them. So this is where you want to have some diversity in your bait box coming up here over the next couple of weeks, is you want to try to have a little bit of everything. And just see what you get your most production of, and kind of zero that in earlier as far as to late, not knowing really what you need to be able to do. So if you got a few people that'll be with you on a particular day of fishing, just have some different size and colors to see what happens. And it'll let you know. Fish will dictate to you what they want. Just pay attention to what they go. It's real subtle some days. But I'm curious to see what takes place after Hurricane Beryl has moved on. So by the time this comes out, we will be on the back side of that hurricane, and we will see. So anyhow, hope your great day have on the fishing in the next few weeks. Hope everybody had a tremendous 4th of July, and continue to enjoy your summer.